My goal today is to tell you about the general build-up of these programs and maybe give some specific advice that could be useful. Last year, together with the colleagues from Romania, with my colleague Laura Trofin, we worked on a program funded by GIZ and the Foundation of Eastern Europe. We prepared such a manual or a guideline which describes the programs. You can use it, and in the end of my presentation, I will share it once again. We will talk with you about the programs that are accessible, that are out there, and we will also talk about how you can learn about them and how you can join them. I would like to highlight that the number of programs is increasing, and you have to really see about, and monitor the situation to see all of the opportunities. Ukraine is a candidate, has made some steps on its path to the European Union, and has more or wider opportunities depending on the specific situation, starting from 2009, Eastern Partnership, 2014, Association Agreement, the negotiations on candidacy, and we hope that these negotiations will happen or will start very shortly. I would like to highlight here that very often people have the illusion that we will join the EU and changes will happen in our country. Still, the process of European integration means that a lot of changes are our homework. It's a prerequisite for us to join the EU. One of the key topics in the process of negotiations, there are 35 various directions that are covered by the negotiations, but one of them is aligning Ukrainian and European regional policy, both in terms of legislation and in terms of capacities of what regions and communities can do. I would like to highlight that the European regional policy can also be called the program of unity, neighborhood. And this is focused on several ideas that are interesting and worth looking at and working with. First of all, this is aimed at covering or minimizing disparity. It started when it became understood that northern and southern Italy, for example, are very different in their development. East Germany and West Germany are very different as well. And people understood in European Union that such differences can lead to potential conflicts. This is the first idea. The second idea is cooperation. The majority of projects that are funded by the EU are based on the idea that there have to be several participants, several partners. Very often these are partners from different countries. And it is also very important that in such a partnership, the stronger partners have the function of helping the weaker partners. We can see that this is the biggest investment policy of the European Union right now, and it gets about a third of joint funds of the European Union. It is important for us to understand that implementation of European Union programs follows a 7-year cycle, which we are following as well, starting in 2014. Now this is the period of 2020-2027, and then we will see some changes in European and Ukrainian policies. Another important moment that I wanted to highlight in European regional policy, which covers Ukraine as well, because it covers European countries, candidate countries, and neighboring countries. And each category will use its own tools. The general framework of European policy is based on several priorities. We have heard about that quite a lot. This is the cutting through topic of the double shift, green and digital transition. Also, the goal here is better access to the economy, to jobs, better unity in the European Union. The primary instrument that is used to implement regional policy is the structural funds. This is something which we hear a lot. I would like to highlight that direct access to the structural funds is only available to member states. Still, we need to understand that some of the programs that we have access to are also funded from the structural funds. We're talking about 4 of them: European Regional Development Fund, Cohesion Fund, Social Fund, and Transition Fund, which is aimed to help countries who have difficulties in green transition so that they can get more support. The ideas that are part of European regional policy, I need to highlight here that it's not only about resources, it's about philosophy as well. In the things that I mentioned when I was talking about basic ideas are brought into life through methodologies in regional policies. Here you will find an example of 2 of such instruments or mechanisms, which are not programs, but which I think are important enough to mention because they show that somewhere we don't really overlap on our understanding of certain notions and how this is interpreted in the EU. ITI, Integrated Territorial Investment, it's a mechanism that is aimed at local development. CLLD, mostly rural development. In both cases, we're talking about integrated development. There can be discussions whether this is needed or not, this integrated concepts. But we need to understand that an integrated approach is really a methodology and not just a specific document. And it's very important to see that this methodology is aimed at the so-called functional territories, meaning that the European Union supports the idea that big cities works with communities that are located nearby. Functional territories, these are not just territories that have some specific common features. These are territories that are cooperating beyond administrative borders.
Namely, they are working with live agglomeration development questions, and the ideology behind this integrated approach is that Lviv and neighboring communities would be implementing common projects together. Why I think it is important to mention this? Because there's a intermunicipal cooperation and the basis of all this, and in my opinion, that's one of those aspects that we lack for successful implementation of all this, of regional policies and the readiness to implement the policies and tools of the European Union. As to the programs that are available for Ukraine, I wouldn't be able to tell you in small details about all the existing programs. My task here today is to give you some outline, the understanding of the system of these programs that exist. There are three categories of programs. First are the programs of support within the neighboring policy. Second are the programs of interregional, transborder and transnational cooperation in the framework of Interreg, and then some sectoral programs Ukraine has access to. And also Ukraine facility, I will mention it later, but we will speak about it more detailed in the other presentation. First group of programs, the programs implemented within the neighboring policy framework, is the most familiar for Ukrainian applicants. We've been working in Ukraine for quite a while. There are more than 250 of such programs in Ukraine. There is a website available in Ukrainian. The website of Eastern Partnership and EU for Ukraine website. ULEAD is an example of such program. A lot of you are familiar, many of you are familiar with it. I would like to emphasize that this program is aimed at technical support. Very seldom they include investment component to it. These programs are aimed at different applicants, such as local self-governing bodies, business, NGOs, and I will not stop on these programs. I will not tell about them in details because they are more simple and our participants are familiar with them. The other block of programs is transborder, transnational, and transregional programs of cooperation. They are being implemented within Interreg, a program which includes 4 direction of development. Recently, up till now, Ukraine only had access to one of its directions, Interreg Next. Those are programs Poland, Ukraine, you are familiar with. It was very relevant for the applicants from the Western Ukraine, Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, Ukraine, and Romania, Ukraine, and transnational Black Sea program, and the program of support of transnational strategy in the Danube region. I would like to emphasize that these programs are mostly available for the limited number of regions. And those are mostly regions that are located close to the borders. Each program has the list of the regions where it is available. According to these programs, there should be one or several participants as applicants from the Ukrainian side and one or several participants from the relevant country, foreign country. There are 3 types of projects within these programs. First, big projects that are mostly designed at the level of negotiations between Ukraine and partnering country right at the launch of the program. Second group, those are big projects that are being announced every year according to the current priorities of the program. And third category are so-called small projects. Big projects, there are different number of projects, different programs in 200 or 250,000 up to millions of euros. Small programs up to 500 or 250,000 euro. And the applicants are usually the NGOs. Last year, there was a significant change. Ukraine received an access to another component of Interreg Europe, and Urbect program. Those are relatively new programs, and I would like to mention a couple of words about them. And this leaflet in these guidelines I was talking earlier, you can find the more detailed explanation about each of this program. It is similar to what you see on this slide. How Interreg Europe is different from those programs that were available before. First of all the Ukrainian regions can be the applicants. And second of all, also the partners can be not only the countries located close to the border with the European Union, but other European countries as well. As of today, there are 3 open circles the applicants can join. Ukrainian applicants can join within Interreg program. Romania-Ukraine program. They have announced a competition recently, the competition for standard projects. I have mentioned that already. The deadline is the 16th of July this year. Priority number 1, environment and environmental protection. The funding of the project is from 800 to 1.4 million euro, and investment component is a minimum of 500,000 euro. You can see the link to the website of the project. Normally, each project have Ukrainian version, on at least half of the materials are available in Ukrainian. Another program which has opened its competition at the moment, it's the Black Sea program. But before that, I would like to add a couple of words about Romania and Ukraine program. It's Ivano-Frankivsk, Odessa, Chernivtsi regions, and Transcarpathian region. And for Black Sea program, it's Odessa, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Mykolaiv, Kherson regions. Also, you can see all the deadlines and the amount of funding. And the link to the website. And this year, for the first time, the Ukrainian applicants may take part in Interreg Europe program I have mentioned already. The deadline for the applicants is the 7th of June this year. The programs are aimed at improving the cooperation. I would like to underline that if you have an opportunity to join, each of this program has a leading partner and other partners. So it is possible if you can meet up with this deadline. It makes a lot of sense for you to join and get some experience. And the third group are the so-called sectoral programs of European Union. And here you can see the list of all the programs open for Ukraine. Some of them have been open for a while already, and some of them have been open on a last year. For example, Connecting Europe facility, the program that was opened last year. The peculiarity of this program is that in order for Ukraine to have the access to it, Ukrainian government has to sign a relevant agreement with the European Commission, and this agreement has to be ratified by our parliament. After that, the program will start working. Ukraine, according to these programs, not always Ukraine can become a leading partner. They can apply in a partnership from the other applicants, which are the European country. LIFE program is aimed at environmental questions and support of the Green Deal and green transition. Horizon Europe will be mentioned later today, and their focus are the researchers. Erasmus Plus is the student exchange, youth exchange, and sport. Single Market program is a program aimed at support of business. Digital Europe, it's clear that it's aimed at digitalization processes. Connecting Europe facility is aimed at the development of infrastructure, including transport. EU for health, it's for healthcare, and European civil protection mechanism is a humanitarian support tool, which was included after the full-scale invasion. As of today, every of these programs opens its circles. One of the programs that has a number of open circles opened at the moment is the LIFE program. So you can go by this link to see LIFE goals and proposals. The deadline here, as you see, is more suitable. So for most of these programs, the deadline is till the autumn. You can check, there are a lot of programs you can try to join. It makes sense to monitor all the time the available programs. And at this slide, you can see some possibilities. And you are familiar with many of them. And after this webinar, you're going to receive the presentation. All the links are working. And these links are also available in the guidelines textbook. It makes sense to listen to this course and similar courses. Recently, the colleagues from City for Cities, which is supported by Swedish project Savarg, were doing an educational core program that is now available for everyone. Maybe some of you was listening to it online, and there is an additional information. And you can check it just to know more on this topic. Please follow the announcements. The regional associations, the regional councils, regional development agencies, from time to time, they publish their recent information on the programs opened. And very often, they help the communities to make a proper applications. How these programs work? So, the announcement is normally being published at the single tender portal of European Union, EU FMT portal. You can type in the name of the program to see which circles are opened and which circles are closed. You can find the project you're interested in the list, and then check the detailed description of the project. I will not tell more about Horizon project because you will find out about it later, I would like briefly mention the following. Ukraine facility is the new tool that is being opened for Ukraine. The candidate countries are mostly those having non-structural funds, but so-called IPO foundations, IPO funds for countries which are candidates. Ukraine is at the Euro integration path, and it's doing its path in quite a specific conditions connected with Russian aggression. So Ukraine facility is aimed both at helping Euro integration tasks and rebuild and restoration within the framework of investment component. It is foreseen that 20% of grant money, and it's about €1 billion, will be allocated to support some national level, which means for the regions and communities, and 1/4 of these funds will be allocated within the period of 2024-2025. If you will convert this amount of money and you will try to compare it with DFR, you will understand that that's quite a lot of money that will be allocated to the communities. But in order to work with them, you need capacities. The communities needs to develop their capacity to work with such projects, and there is a third component, technical aid programs, and there is quite a substantial financing there as well. At the very end of my presentation, I would like to emphasize on several things that are important for the applicants for your ability to work, to cooperate with these programs. Actually, the programs always require the understanding of the specific topics of this program. So the first step you have to do is to study all the documents related to the competition to understand what are the priorities, what kind of projects are available, who can be the applicant, how many partners are required. Second step, the applications are being submitted online, and you have to start well in advance because you have to get registered. And very often when you start getting registered, you find out that you lack some documents. So you have to make sure you have enough time to provide everything. Then you have to understand whether the project you're applying for is within the priorities of the programs. Well, yeah, like your activity is within the priorities of the program. Each program has some partners, and you have to understand who can be your partners, and you have to start building the connections beforehand. Then the logical scheme of the project has to be formulated. All the projects have a very clear structure. There should be an aim, a problem you are trying to solve, steps to solve them, and then different types of indicators. And very often people have troubles with that, as things like outputs, outcomes, and impact. It is very important to understand what is your team, to understand the budget, because sometimes it's also complicated. In many instances, those are the public competitions, and there are requirements of European tender procedures, so which are sometimes do not coincide with Ukrainian tender procedures.
Very often, what needs to be mentioned here is co-funding Sometimes investment is needed of the funds that will be returned. And there are horizontal questions of gender equality and sustainability. When a certain program is funded by the program, it is interested to make sure that the program continues or the project continues after the funding is exhausted. This has to be reflected in the application as well. Some of the important aspects, in my opinion, which you will need if you want to be successful, first of all, is English. It's a must. I understand that in many communities you do not have specialists who speak English. But it's not really a problem. Anyone can learn. I never studied English either at school or at the university, but once when I was still working in Vinica in the Institute of City Development, a colleague from Zurich called and she was going to make a visit. The language that I spoke with her was very broken English. And then I had a phone call from the embassy and they told me that she understood that the person who she was talking to was not really speaking English very well. And she was not sure that she was understood. And she called the embassy. And I felt very ashamed. And I understood that I need to know English. Maybe not perfectly, but that's key to everything else. Another moment is systematic monitoring of opportunities. Basically, each of the programs provides opportunities to join info days, and there you will be able to get information firsthand. You will be able to ask your questions as well. Another thing which is a must, these are project management skills. There are so many various classes on that. Technical assistance also provides that you will be able to improve your capabilities there. I do recommend that you talk to colleagues who have already done that when they went through the procedure of applying. That will tell you more about potential problems that no documents will tell you about. It's good if you had everything ready in advance, if you have partnership relations already set. And you need to understand that by doing so, you're joining the programs and you are trying to get into a thing which is not easy, but very important. And the more you do it, the more successful you become. So I do encourage you to try, to apply, to improve your capability. And maybe it's not the first time that you will be successful, but sooner or later you will be. Of course, out of those who were listening to me, we have people with very inexperienced. For some of you, things that I was talking about are easy, and you know that some of you are just in the very beginning. So I do recommend to tap into these opportunities, collect information to make sure that you have your own understanding of how you work with all of these projects. Once again, I'm sending you a link to this manual. It's a reference book, and I will be very happy if the work that we were engaged in when we were preparing it will be useful for you. So if you have questions, I will try to answer them, and thank you for your attention. Yes, thank you for such an introduction and for them sharing the materials. I'm absolutely sure that they will be very useful for everyone who has joined us in this meeting. Next, I'm going to invite Stanislav, who will tell us about his experience and his success story, which he received from the program of economic growth. Thank you. Sure. I'm going to share my presentation as well. Just a second. Good. So you see my presentation, right? Yes. Thank you for confirming. Good. Greetings, participants of this event. I'm happy to be able to present you the effort that we are doing under Measures for Economic Growth. This is funded by the European Union and implemented by UNDP. Just I'm trying to make it move. And it doesn't move, right? You should be able to access buttons at the bottom, left and right. So this is an overview of the program, Measures for Economic Growth. The second stage started in 2021 and will continue until the end of this year. The first stage is over. It was implemented by another international organization and was mostly focused on the plans of local economic development. The total budget, regional budget, I highlight that, is a bit over 14 million American dollars, and the geographic scope is Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, Moldova, and Ukraine. I've already mentioned that the donor is the European Union. And for you just to understand, it's not just a set of projects, it's a network that includes municipalities, more than 400 of them from these countries. More than 200 municipalities from Ukraine are part of the initiative. Now we have 3 grant programs. Travel portfolio, local change or transformation, and reacting and recovering. We had call for proposals in 2023, and you see the winners who we are working with now quite actively. If we're talking about the travel part of that, then in Mykolaiv and Ternopil, we are testing this portfolio approach. It's quite an innovative approach, even for UNDP, because the organization is trying to move to this approach altogether. And it is useful in the situation when you don't know what's going to happen. It's good for complicated or complex systems. We help municipalities to develop a vision of their continued development, and based on this vision, using methodologies after we do verification with the community, we form a set of activities for Mykolaiv. The vision was to move to blue economy. For Ternopil, the mission is comfortable green city. And these related activities, they're being tested here. And the goal is to make sure when this is being implemented, project teams could learn, test certain activities, and see what lessons they could learn. It doesn't mean that always these initiatives or these activities would be successful. We try to have that be successful, of course, but What we aim at is more positive impact on the society, on the environment, and we try here to go away from a direct implementation through project management when we have indicators and close the project. Here the goal is to have the base for further funding and successful transition to the mission defined. Second grant program is local change or local transitions. These are also the members of our program. We have completed the project in Lviv, in Trostianets, and we're about to finish them in Melitopol, Poltava, and Sumy. So what makes this program special? First of all, our colleagues from regional office in Istanbul provided a lot of mentorship support when they analyzed the projects, tried to improve them, and these cities are bigger. So if we talk about Melitopol, then of course city administration is in the Zaporizhia now, and the project is aimed at communication and networking, or building a network with the IDPs from Melitopol. We support here in reacting and renewal or recovery. We support 13 communities, which you can also see on the screen. Some of them are quite big, like Kharkiv and Chernivtsi, but mostly the population of the majority of these communities is 50, 60, 70,000 people. Some of the communities are small, like Velike Luchki, Velika Alexandrivka. And then you find here Nova Kakhovka, which is in administration of it is in Kryvyi Rih. We are creating a center for supporting the IDPs. Lots of work is done here. Good. Now let's move to some of the specific initiatives under reaction and renewal. In Kamyanets-Podilsky, it's a center for supporting IDPs, which we did a lot of trainings, engaging almost 200 people, and additional consultations on employment were provided, and about 2,000 people could benefit from that. So you see, this is more of a social project. Another successful initiative was implemented in Nizhyn, where we created a social entrepreneurship focused on sewing, like textiles. Here, about 20 jobs were created, mostly for the IDPs, and it has been opened already. Colleagues are now working on sustainability, a sustainability model for this enterprise, as Myroslav has mentioned. Good, so we're moving on. Other projects, examples. A project in Bucha. It's a rehab unit where we bought a lot of equipment for rehabilitation, and that will be an outpatient rehab unit. Bucha never had such services, so this is a new project for them. This is a hostel, another project for IDPs in Gulhiv. And people from Sumy region can find shelter in a hostel or dormitory for IDPs. It has more than 70 places. More projects. microgreens, 3 working spaces for the IPTP. And we did trainings and workshops for children, for the young people on healthy lifestyles. This is where people learn how to grow microgreens and promote this business. And this is for IDPs. And now, just like in the example of Gluhi, if people are working on sustainability of this project. So reacting and recovery. This is also some information that I wanted to share with you. This is in Kharkiv. You probably know that our colleagues in Kharkiv are implementing quite an ambitious project with the support of another UN agency, UNISA, and they cooperate with Norman Faust Foundation. Our project was part of the wider project that I'm mentioning here, and we helped our colleagues here do 3D scanning of the buildings that were damaged as a result of missile attacks. So these are historical buildings, and we also help colleagues develop 3D models that they could use to update the information and then add information about other buildings and generally use that for planning, for defining development strategy for the city. So these are our projects. What else do we have in our program, Mayors for Economic Growth? We have a training center. It's a space for training, for communication, which provides information on innovative approaches and in general creates an ecosystem through which we can receive specific knowledge and then use it in practice in specific communities. So right now we are developing training modules here. So far you can have one course here in Ukrainian, and it is called Basis for Being Ready to Future. Sparkle Blue, you can see it. This is a platform from which you can access materials from various UNDP missions on education, and we use this platform for our center. In English, you can also have 2 more courses, Ways for Economic Growth, and it is based on the methodology of economic growth that is now being adapted to Ukrainian context by our consultant. And we will also be happy to present this methodology very soon. And it will be officially presented for the first time during Lviv Urban Forum in the end of June. Maybe you have already heard about that, but I would also like to use this opportunity to announce about it. And then this methodology will be used in our center, of our training center, where it will be available for a lot of people.
And also we're talking about Green and Just Transition. It was published last week. This course is available in English only, but we have started translating it, and very soon it will be available in Ukrainian as well, like within the next month, I think. And by the end of the year, we have other plans to develop other courses. There will be one course published, Inclusive and Smart Cities, and it will be English version first, and then the translation will be provided. The other course will be dedicated to social inclusion. It's UNDP methodology. It's about verifying certain hypotheses among the citizens of communities and cities. And the sixth course will be aimed at access to funding, fundraising, and this course will also be very interesting for many participants of this event, I think. And also, I would like to mention that UNDP cooperate with other partners within the development of this training courses. Our main partners are European Union and other three partners, Arup, and it's a global architectural company represented in many countries, and the technical experts of this company are engaged into the development of the modules. And other organization, Climate Kick, the colleagues from this organization focus on overcoming the negative impact of climate change, the problems of environment, and they are quite famous and active. And in our partner consortium, there is a university, Tallinn University, Tallinn University of Technology, TalTech. It's a very important partner which takes part in development of this courses. Also, you can see the screenshot regarding the first course, and it's like the basics of the readiness for the future. You see that 163 people have already subscribed, and there have been many people who have already finished this course. So we encourage you to join, and I think it will be very useful for you, including building the capacity and fundraising. And also, I mentioned in the very beginning that our beginning on the economical growth, it's a network. More than 200 municipalities are joined to this network in Ukraine, and we encourage the representatives of the communities to join to this network, because there are not only the grant programs available that are being implemented and some new programs that will be available starting from the new phase of the implementation of our initiative, which is going to stay on the in year 2025. We are waiting the confirmation from our colleagues, but we already have some expectations. Please follow the announcements, and if you are already a member of this network, you have a possibility to receive the information about all the courses, opportunities, events, and we try to spread out the relevant information as soon as possible and encourage people to be proactive and take part in different events and courses. This is it from me, I guess. Julia, maybe some colleagues have questions. I would be happy to answer. Yeah, thank you very much, Stanislav, for your very interesting presentation and the examples of the programs. We hope it was very useful to our participants. The information about courses in particular. Yes, there are some questions, so let me ask them. First question, how these programs are working in terms of occupied territories. Thank you very much for this question. Sorry, I mixed up your name. I was meaning Tatiana, not Yulia. As to the working with the communities that are at the temporary occupied territories, the colleagues The city administrations and councils, they are now evacuated to the other locations, and so we focus on helping the IDPs. So, for example, Kakhovka community is now being all the facilities are being now relocated to Kryvyi Rih, and we created a lot of events for them. As to the Melitopol, the administration is in the Zaporizhzhia, Melitopol city administration, and the purchasing of special application software was done to help them. There were the plans to implement this in Zaporizhzhia, but then colleagues started to duplicate this in other cities where there are a lot of IDPs from Melitopol. Thank you. One more question. What programs are available for the development of the education? Actually, the projects are multi-sectoral. So if we're talking about the project in Lviv, then a lot of focus is on the development of soft and formal skills. We are cooperating with the organization's education, and they have a network in Lviv, the network of centers. It's the network of libraries in the space that we help them to create, and they will be using this space for the development of informal skills, and they will be aimed at IDPs and other vulnerable groups living in Lviv city. A lot of other projects are saturated with different topics, and they are being successfully implemented as well. Two more questions. Are there any limitations in terms of the size of the community that can become the part of this program, and how someone can join the network? As to the size of the community, we had different open competitions. It was back in 2022, and actually there were no big limitations regarding the size. But when the projects were evaluated, we were trying to evaluate the ability, the capacity of the community to implement certain initiatives. If we're talking about portfolio trip, we have chosen Mykolaiv and Ternopil as the cities that are able to test drive these innovations and implement them successfully. As to response and renewal, then you have seen that there are even small village communities, Velika Alexandrivka, Veliki Luchki. It's a small community near Mukachevo town, Velika Alexandrivka. A year ago, it was deoccupied, it's Kherson region, and we are trying to implement our initiative there as well. Thank you very much. If you have any other questions, please write them down in the chat. And Stanislav, people are asking for your contacts. If you don't mind, please share them in the chat. And for now, we will pass the floor to Ihor Taranov. If it's the head of the office Horizon in Ukraine, tell us, please, how the communities can use Horizon possibilities. Are you here? Yes, I'm here. Hello, dear colleagues. Let me try to share my screen, but I'm sorry I have no right from the hosts to share the screen. Can you share this right with me? Until I'm waiting, I just want to remind you that starting from the last year, Office Horizon Ukraine is functioning in Ukraine. The practice of creating of the structure is in using the possibilities of national research funds, where there is an expert group available to make sure these offices can function. We are a project of, as a part of the European Commission. I hope you're going to see my screen soon. Great. We are a simple standard project. We are a grant that was won by the National Fund of Research of Ukraine. We are going to function up till 2026. So the grant was for 3 years. The project was for 3 years, provided that we'll be able to fulfill all the tasks connected with fulfilling the grant environment. A little bit about the program, what it is about. Let me remind you that Horizon Europe is the biggest program of the European Europe, and the general budget of this project for 2021-2027 is 95.5 billion euro for all the participants. There are three important areas of development. First, advanced science. Those are the grants for enterprises, for scholars. It is connected with scholarship and mobility. Second area is global challenges and European industry competition, and it gives grants for the business and under very good conditions. And the there is a possibility to receive from 60 up to 100% of funding, depending on the conditions. Also, another area is Innovation Europe. This aimed at the development of startup and small-scale business in different sectors, including technologies, some breakthrough innovations, and there are three tools: European Institute of Technology and Innovation, the European Innovation Ecosystems, and European Innovative Council. Also, there are a number of complementary programs, missions, and other components of Horizon Europe, and the territorial communities should pay its attention to it. And different companies may cooperate in modern innovation connected with the healthcare and life saving. Also, there is another program, Eratum, that cooperates with communities that have some connections with nuclear energy. Some interesting things about you. Why I'm speaking more about business structures, because small and medium business, scale business are the most important sources of income of territorial communities as of today, and it is very advantageous to stimulate this business. Horizon Europe is the next program after the program Horizon 2022. So there is some statistics of the participation of the Ukrainian organizations in this program. You can see it on the screen. So Ukrainian applicants have applied 2,841 times, and they have received funding of 49 million euro. Ukrainian organization have 9.33% among all the applicants who won those applications, and the average level of success of the participant countries, you could see it on the slide. As to Horizon Europe, as of 15th of May, the Ukrainian organizations have sent 1,277 applications, 142 agreements were signed, and 37.74 million euro was the amount of findings. So you can see that Ukraine is as successful as other participant countries. So we have firm position in this country. Let me remind you that this program is aimed for several more years, so we will be able to receive more funding and more applicants would be able to benefit from this program. Also, there is some statistics about participation in Horizon and Horizon Europe, just for you to understand which position we have among all the participants. And you can compare Horizon Europe and Horizon 2020. In Horizon 2020, there were 116 private organizations. As of today in Horizon Europe, there are 59 organizations. There is some positive dynamics. In Horizon Europe, there are some universities and schools taking part in it, and the territorial communities should pay attention to cooperation with these establishments because as of today, we have reached the indicator of previous framework program Horizon 2020. 57 educational establishment took part in Horizon Europe. We are a little bit behind in terms of researchers. It is clear because a lot of researchers had to relocate, some research infrastructure was destroyed, and but I think by the end of this project we can keep up. 11 organizations are taking in also part in Horizon Europe. It's 1/3 from Horizon 2020. As to the other organizations, we have gained the level of the previous framework program. So speaking of business and what we have as of today, generally, business structures have received 14.99 million of funding. In percentage, it will be 39.7% from all the funding that Ukraine received, and it's the 6th place out of all the associated countries. There were 49 grant agreements signed by Ukrainian organizations with partnering countries, and there are 62 countries who are our partners. There are some partnerships which are more successful and less successful, but if we take a look at the associated partners, Norway, Icelandia, Albania, Montenegro, Serbia, South Macedonia, and other Northern Macedonia and others, what is also important that we are also an associated member and we have all the possibilities to take part in Horizon Europe program, taking into account that Ukraine has received preferences and we don't pay membership fee. If we have a look at top 10 business structures in Ukraine taking part in this, those are mostly small and medium-sized businesses, but it doesn't mean that other organizations cannot be included to the consortiums. Horizon Europe do not impose any restrictions for the participants. So anyone can be the participant of the consortium, part of the consortium. Of course, each competition is given some kind of standard requirements. It should be representative of European Union and associated countries, but it doesn't limit the rights of the territorial communities in any way. As an example, we can show you the money that have to be spent in 2024. You can see this table first. Area and amount of money, you can see 1,283,000,000. It's advanced science, and we can see that we can enlarge our partnership in European space. By the end of 2024, we still have to spend for 1,175,000,000 euro. So let's take a look at several other structural instruments of Horizon Europe that can be used for the support of small and medium scale business. These are so-called multilateral projects. There should be 3 participants from EU or associated countries and 1 participant should be from European Union. It's a requirement, firm requirement. Also, Some individual projects can take part in the competitions with 1 or 2 participants.
The support could be provided by European Innovation Council, European Institute for Innovation and Technology, and we were open on January the 20th, 2023, and European Institute of Innovation and Technology has a hub there. It also provides some opportunities for supporting startups, cascade funding. It is for public funding to support beneficiaries, businesses, and there are no limitations for territorial communities that could be part of the consortium. PPPs, other opportunities are also open, and information can be found on the websites. Here, more sources of information. I understand that not many communities take part in projects under Horizon Europe, but you can take part of open calls. So far, there are 175 calls, which can be found in Funding and Tenders portal. And you can find them broken down into topics, into partners, and so on. There is a guide on Horizon for Ukraine, where you can see what things are for Ukraine only, as ERC for Ukraine is more of a research space, could be interesting for scientists, researchers. And if you have such centers in your community, this is an opportunity for them. Once again, I would like to highlight that these are narrow focus programs. Ukraine joined this initiative where you can find free mentorship services for Ukrainian applicants to make sure that their applications are more successful and can win these calls. Maria Skłodowska-Curie Action for Ukraine. This is breakthrough science. I will remind that starting January next year, this will be support for Ukrainian scientists who are abroad right now, who had to leave the country, to the total amount of 10 million euro, and to be able to work successfully in there and find partners if you still cannot do it independently. There are digital platforms where you will be able to find information on potential partners. There's a contact points of Horizon Europe, European Network of Enterprises and Clusters, Business Solidarity EU Ukraine, and a platform of supply chain resilience. Now specific calls which still exist, which are still open, and that you could join. So Connect, aimed at interrelated inclusive ecosystems in the EU and also in national and regional ecosystems. Both calls have active links. You can see them. You need to apply starting June the 6th and until September the 19th. So there's an opportunity to take part in that. Innov SMEs is a partnership of innovative medium and small businesses. Once again, here we talk about engagement of small and medium enterprises. And we will be grateful if territorial communities will be able to bring this information to enterprises located within your communities. It's a possibility of getting additional funding under the existing partnerships. And this call will be open. It will start July the 12th and the final and will last until the 12th of September. So that will be enough time for finding partners and preparing a grant application. So wish you good luck in that as well, and hope that enterprises that are related in your communities will be able to get additional funds to support communities. European Institute of Innovation and Technology. We have a hub that I've just mentioned that opened on January the 20th, 2023. And they have info meetings where they talk about lots of their initiatives. I will not go into very many details. I will just say that these initiatives are very well used and Ukrainian organizations are welcome. EIT Red Kalina is open until the 15th of September this year, and Boost Up Ukraine 2024 is a program that is aimed at selecting up to 10 startups. I understand that startups are the easiest way of receiving funding to develop your idea and to implement it. And we do suggest that you use this opportunity. Jumpstarter, Infra Booster, these are about venture enterprises and innovative communities. These are the three instruments in the third direction of European Innovative Council. If you have ideas that need to be verified, you can use this instrument called Pathfinder, and these are grants for projects at the beginning of their development, and this is how you can see the innovative potential of such enterprises and get the funding of up to 3 million euro. Transition, this is the stage of the projects where you have to reach the TRL of 5 to 6, have a scaling idea and an idea to how to get into the market, and accelerator is an even stronger project. So calls that I was mentioning today, Transit Open, and it will take applications until the 1st of September this year. The total budget is 94 million, almost 95 million euro. The deadline is the 1st September this year. And this is for innovative projects that are doing more than just an experiment, a lab experiment. So here it's for the projects which will be able to enter the market. Another call is Accelerator 24. The total budget is 675 million euro. And the deadline is the 24th of December this year. It is a good project as well, a good competition. More competitions under startup support. I will not tell you much more about that because I do encourage you to visit the hub's events where we will be telling you more details. Cascade funding is an instrument of supporting third parties. It is also available in many directions. Why is it reasonable to use that tool? Again, it is aimed at redistribution of public funds of the European Union to support enterprises, startups, scale-ups, SMEs, to develop modern innovative technology. Of course, we talked about the fact that consortiums will be needed, and I told you some details about consortiums, but you can find more details about each of the competitions on the European Commission portals, or this information can be obtained from our office if you need to learn more about a specific competition. European partnerships. As of today, we have 49 of them. In 2025-26, 10 new European partnerships are planned to be opened up. It's joint programming, joint funding, and these are institutionalized partnerships. If we look at co-funding, then partnerships that could be selected for a specific kind of support. These are partnerships between European countries, research funds, public bodies. Could be interesting of you as well. Now, I will talk about calls that are done in the second direction of our program, global challenges and industrial competitiveness. Sixth cluster, agriculture, biofood, environment. And it's an instrument that is called supporting national, regional, and local authorities across Europe to prepare for the transition towards climate neutrality within cities. Some brief information is available here. What I want to highlight, it's an open call. It started on May the 16th, and the deadline is the 5th of September. The budget is €3 million, but the number of projects that will be funded is just one. It means that it is very competitive, and the winner will be selected based on very profound expertise or due diligence done by the European Commission to select the best. We understand that fighting or trying to be the only winner is difficult, but I do encourage you to try, because if you apply anyway, and we will be able to help you verify your application. And even if you don't get the opportunity to win here, still this will be invaluable experience for you for future. And there will be a moment when your proposals become winners. Good. So if you have questions, we have some digital tools that we use for communication. Please note that you have a QR code here, and there you will find all of the calls that are open from Horizon Ukraine. Then you see our website. Do follow us on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, our info box, Horizon Europe info, and you can send your requests, and we will be able to provide you the needed consultations. Join our info events that we do for Ukrainian organizations of any kind of property or form. The nearest event is this Friday, and you can find information about that as well as the registration form on our digital tools of informing the public. Good. Thank you for inviting me to this event. I hope that information that I have shared with you today was interesting, was useful, and you will be able to be better participants of Horizon Europe programs. Yuri, thank you for such a detailed discussion, for your links. our participants will be able to use the links. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move to Christian Larsen. We are going to hear from the national expert in the Ukrainian service of DG NEAR. And this is the moment for the participants to choose Ukrainian language because you will need translation.
Yes,
Christian,
thank you. Thank you very much.
You.
I am. Can you hear? If everyone can hear me, that would be good to know. Very good. I'm trying to share my screen. Do you now see the presentation? Not for full size. Let's see if I can make it into full size. No. Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, this should be the entire one, but if it's okay, if you can see, then I will just proceed. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. I've been listening in a little bit to what's gone before, and I've seen as you've received a lot of useful information about initiatives, many of them EU supported and related on the ground that are of use for the local government level. I will move up a step and talk a bit about the Ukraine facility as a whole, more and how it includes openings and possibilities for municipalities in Ukraine. So you might have heard some of this before, but for those who have not, it will be good to get the overview, and for those who have, it's always good to get another chance to see the information and maybe ask questions. So as you know, the Ukraine facility went into force on the 1st of March and is a 50 billion euro support package from the EU to Ukraine that will run over 4 years until the end of 2027. And as you also might have heard and might have seen, the facility is divided up in 3 pillars. Where the first pillar, well, this is the overview of the amounts. The first pillar is concentrated on budget support to the Ukrainian budget, and that is the biggest chunk of the support, about 38 billion euros. Then there is a second pillar that is the Ukraine investment framework that includes investment guarantees and also some grants to mobilize also private investments and the IFI engagements in Ukraine to scale up and to engage further. And then finally, the third pillar includes technical assistance and other forms of support that will also be aimed towards the local government sector in Ukraine. The size of the third pillar is 4.7 billion euros, but unfortunately, a large part of that will be taken up by interest rates, interest rate subsidies that is provided by the EU to Ukraine. So the share actually going to technical assistance and support is quite a bit smaller than the 4.7 billion euros. First to pillar one, so the budget support that will go to Ukraine. So the budget support, these 38 billion euros, they are very closely related to the Ukraine plan that you might have heard of. That is a plan provided by the Ukrainian government detailing reforms, important institutional changes and the sequencing of how to do this that is closely related to the delivery of budget support to Ukraine through the Ukraine facility. So the Ukraine plan also includes conditionalities and benchmarks, so that certain things need to be accomplished on the Ukrainian side at a certain time in order for the payments to continue to be paid out as planned. And this Ukraine plan was a positive assessment of it was made by the council just a week ago, which allows regular payments through the Ukraine facility to be well, to commence. So this has just been sorted out and approved, and the regular system is now in place now that the Ukraine plan 1 week ago was positively assessed by the European Council. So the main in this pillar 1 in the budget support going to Ukraine, the main opening, the main news to the local government sector is the inclusion of a specific minimum amount of funding that will go to the subnational authorities, in particular local self-government, so in particular municipalities. So that is 20% of the non-repayable financial support, which is 20% of the grants provided under as budget support to Ukraine. In practice, that translates into 1 billion euros. So this is a commitment that the Ukrainian government must fulfill. The operationalization of this, how the mechanism, the methodology, how to allocate this funding, this is still being discussed, and it's not quite clear yet exactly the modalities and how that will work. But this is work under progress, and there are elements in the regulation for the Ukraine facility, especially under Article 17, that sets out some well, principles that should be followed, including that the mechanism there should be a mechanism to involve subnational authorities in decision making on the use of support in the reconstruction process at local level. So these things will need to be taken into account when these modalities, when this operationalization, how this billion euros will be allocated when this work is now it's now being set into motion. So there will be further updates about this later, how this will be operationalized. But this is already it shows a commitment from the EU and the Ukraine facility to really showcase that the local level, the municipalities, local democracy, they are very, very important in the entire process of reconstruction and in the future of Ukraine, and that they need to be included and a part of the reconstruction effort, also with specific financial resources. Then I move on to pillar 2, which is the Ukraine investment framework. So the objective of this pillar is to mobilize investments for the reconstruction and modernization of Ukraine that are not covered by the state. So this can include private investment projects to support Ukrainian small and mid-sized enterprises, but also to municipalities that have borrowing capacities. So especially cities, Ukrainian cities of a certain size, will at least some of them should be in a position to also benefit from pillar 2 in terms of getting access to loans to develop a municipal infrastructure. And then there are also another aspect of this pillar 2 is to allow IFIs, international financial institutions, to scale up and also create new initiatives that also will target municipal infrastructure in Ukraine. So you have already investments made by EBRD, EIB, KfW, AFD, that this pillar should enable, like a scaling up, so increase the investments made by these institutions. So I mean, one already existing program is the Ukraine Recovery Program by EIB that channels considerable amounts in loans to Ukrainian municipalities, particularly larger cities, for them to invest in their infrastructure. So this is the second pillar, and how it relates to the municipal sector. And then finally, we have pillar 3, which includes the technical assistance and other support measures, which will support Ukraine's progressive alignment to Union acquis. So the legal framework and the rules and regulations that Ukrainian institutions will have to adapt to over time as Ukraine moves closer to membership. Also to contribute implementation of the Ukraine plan, but also capacity building for social partners, civil society organizations, and local authorities. So here, I mean, the EU is already, as you have heard earlier, deeply involved in supporting municipalities in Ukraine with capacity building and projects supporting different aspects of municipalities, and this will continue under Pillar 3. So, for example, you all know ULEAD with Europe, and they will continue operations and hopefully expand them based on what they are already doing. I can also highlight that in the regulation of the Ukraine facility, there is under Article 34, there's a specific reference to twinning and peer-to-peer cooperation programs between Ukrainian and European municipalities. So this is also, I mean, it's not clear exactly how this will be operationalized, but the inclusion in the Ukraine facility regulation means that there will be something also relating to this in the support under Pillar 3. So it's important to keep eyes and ears open and see what is coming. So the programming for Pillar 3 is still ongoing. So it's not public, or it's not clear exactly all the priorities and exactly how the funding will be allocated to different projects and initiatives and priorities. But this will become clearer during the course of 2024, and especially the second half of 2024. So it's important to keep your eyes open regarding this. Yeah, that's the kind of the main thrust of the Ukraine facility. I from a previous presentation, I also have some notes on aspects it might be important to be aware of as more funding from the EU becomes available for Ukrainian municipalities. There are also obligations that are included. So as the EU gets closer to EU membership, there will be more rules and regulations that needs to be also addressed by municipalities who want to use this funding. So one example is state aid rules and principles that I mean already is included in the association agreement, that this has been introduced in Ukraine, but it's currently suspended due to the war, but will be reinstated as soon as conditions allow. And so there is important to follow this and to develop the capacity necessary to do the reporting and understand the principles of such a thing as state aid. And there will be other things as well. But here as well, as I noted in this previous presentation I did, where I highlighted this, there are like institutions that provide capacity development and training. So in Ukraine, it's the Anti-Monopoly Committee, the AMC. But so the AMC receives technical assistance from the EU to offer guidance and organize trainings for local governments. So here it is also an area where it's possible to be proactive, and it's possible to contact the AMC and to ask questions and also request training. So these things I would encourage everyone to consider and look at to be ready as these things progress and as there will be new requirements along the way. And then finally, how to prepare for the future. I heard this was highlighted by some of the other presenters earlier today, but indeed, long-term capacity building will be essential. So planning, strategy development, project management, financial management, all these things. So to be proactive, to see the possibilities also provided by EU projects, and be ready to volunteer, to participate. It's always a good thing. And also to engage in intermunicipal cooperation to pool resources. That's also something that we would encourage. For example, to the degree possible, cooperating with neighboring communities to recruit qualified personnel for essential positions that can be shared by the participating municipalities. So these kind of things, to be creative and see the possibilities in cooperation, also something we very much encourage. And as I specifically heard earlier, the importance to have employees with English skills also cannot be overstated, either by recruiting them or by encouraging employees to improve skills. That will facilitate cooperation so much, both in terms of engaging with different projects, but also when it comes to finding European partners, which is the kind of the last point. If you don't have any, look for them, and there are many European municipalities out there looking for Ukrainian, good Ukrainian partners, and it should be possible to find someone and also support to develop the partnership. So these things I would encourage you to really consider and look for and be proactive in considering these points. So yeah, thank you. That was my main points. Open for any questions or comments.
We thank to our speaker for this presentation, for the pieces of advice and clarification, and for pointing out on the things that might be not clear, and that will be more clear with time. We will be looking forward to receive your presentation. We also have Miss Natalia Khinotska with you, who is with us, who is the head of the project of cooperation with civil society in Ukraine. And then we have a little Q&A session, and please think about your questions, write them down in the chat. Natalia, please. The floor is yours. You can tell us about the support of civil society organization and their cooperation with local authorities and where these opportunities could be found. Yeah, thank you very much. Please allow me to share my screen. Yeah, you should be able to share your screen now. I'm really grateful to all the previous speakers. I will try to exclude unnecessary information and something that has been spoken about. So I'm very grateful that the cooperation with European regions and communities is being transformed into daily work and practical implementation of the policies in order to achieve European standards in Ukraine. Also, I would like to draw your attention that decentralization side already have European integration of the communities part. It will be further filled in and you will be able to find information. It's very important to cooperate with business, science and other stakeholders. As previous speakers said, I can say that we really value the cooperation with civil society. The NGOs, even in the small communities, are represented in almost all the sectors and areas of human life. They work in democratic participation, education, medical, social services, documenting of war crimes, cooperation with authorities. They also helped some communities to create plans on recovery and reconstruction. I encourage you to join the cooperation. This is a very interesting topic. We had over 100 participants during this time. I would like to say that starting from the first days, European Union opened the possibilities for local level for NGOs to apply and take part in the programs and receive grants. At the moment, about 1,500 small sub-grants. There are 5 strategic partners developing this program. You can see them at the slide. They provide assistance to the NGOs in different areas.
This support will continue, as well as our cooperation with the European Fund for Democracy and the Institute of Economic Studies and Political Consultations. And working with public institutions is always possible in terms of just informing them, and then they will be able to better address the problems that they find within communities. Some of the programs encourage this, some programs see that memorandum is a prerequisite, and each party will need to indicate what kind of action will be taken in each of the projects. European Union now has about 65 projects that are provided in various spheres. Some of them have sub-grant components. You can go to European space, your neighbors east, and heading together. And you can continue to inform your public organizations or civil society organizations about these opportunities and help them implement these projects, share experience with them, because they have been using project approach has almost forever. You've heard about so many projects, Interreg, European Bauhaus, Horizon. Sometimes people are lost and they don't understand what problems they should apply, because it is quite difficult to monitor it all. So the best way to explain is this: all of the programs of the European Union are based on policies. Policies are adopted to solve certain social problems, important social problems. So your applications should always be about that as well. Very often the focus is on a solution, but there is no understanding whether this solution is going to solve a problem. Like education is not a solution by itself. You have to define a problem. You have to provide a solution. No matter what kind of application it is, you will always find these three: a problem, a solution, and an impact. Thank you. Thank you, Natalia, for highlighting these on highlighting on the need to work with the civil society and this approach. We still can see your presentation. Yes, so we're grateful to our speakers for their input, for their advice. And we still have a bit of time for questions and answers. If you have questions, you can raise your hands. You can write your questions in the chat. From the questions that we have already seen, there was a question to Myroslav Koshelyuk. Do the programs have support for social and cultural projects? Did you mean a specific program? Andrei, it was your question. So if you're here, and you can specify a question. Yeah, probably not. Myroslav, maybe you could just say a couple of words about social and cultural projects. Yes, the projects that, or sectoral programs that you have under Creative Europe, these are the projects in the sphere of culture. This is where we should go to. Then Interreg has a cultural component. Then, that or some industries that are closely related. Do you hear me? Yes, we do. I just was asked to confirm. That I speak English or Ukrainian. So Poland, Ukraine, this year there will be a call for proposals on tourism, priorities in tourism. The Polish side has cancelled it or postponed it, providing the situation in Ukraine. And transborder cooperation is quite well presented in cultural programs are quite well presented in transborder cooperation. So if you look for the competitions which are relevant right now and open, you will find something there. Then this large group of projects that are the first group, I mean the programs that are the projects that are funded under Neighbourhood initiative program, there are quite some there. And heading together, the website of Eastern Partnership, they all have this. You just need to see which of their calls are within your topic. Thank you, Myroslav. Maybe other people have questions. Okay, then I will have a question for all of the speakers who we have heard from today. So we work with communities, and sometimes people are afraid that them independently, individually, or some groups of people like businessmen, that they would like to apply, but they don't have the experience. And they're afraid of this blank page. They don't know where they should start. And that's why they do not approach it. Maybe from your experience or from the experience of the colleagues who you work with or who you help. You know, we always want some simple solutions. Maybe something that's most effective. Maybe sometimes not obvious tips. What would you tell the communities How would you encourage them to start to apply for grant programs? Myroslav, you have your mic on. I was trying to mention that in the last slide of my presentation. First, I want to say that it's systemic work. And you need to think not just an individual project, but you have to have a system. You need to set the system. And for that, you need not to be afraid of making a first step. It may not work immediately, but it will. You have to be proactive and take part in various seminars, trainings, establish contacts. And I would also highlight the need to communicate with people who already have this experience. In general, when the full-scale invasion started, we saw that communities are supporting each other and they are ready to do that. In most cases, when you heard or you read that a certain community has successful experience, talk to them. I think in most cases you will not be denied, you will not be turned down, they will talk to you. Yeah, so that was what I wanted to say. Okay, thank you. Christian, maybe you will have some advice on that.
Sorry, I was distracted by for a moment by something else coming in. So if you could repeat the question, I will gladly address it.
So we were asking our speakers about 1-2 pieces of advice to communities that have never worked with grant programs, who are only trying to do that, but are postponing. What would you tell to them?
Well, so the advice I provided on the last slide is, of course, still valid for them. But maybe I would then particularly point to the um, to the idea of cooperation with other municipalities. So if you have any neighboring municipalities or in the same rayon or someone you can talk to without being too far away and in too much of a different setting, I think that is a good way to then ask, get their advice, like, because they can give the real practical advice. Here from Brussels, it's yeah, I mean the actual nitty-gritty details and the challenges for a small mid-size Ukrainian municipality to engage in projects. It's not always hard. It's not always easy for us to discern. But someone else, one of your peers who have done this and maybe come a bit further and have been able to develop something, whether they failed or succeeded, it's still valuable to hear from them. If they failed, why, what is the advice to do better, and if they succeeded, like, yeah, what is the recipe? So maybe that's what I would highlight, to just yeah, look among your peers and see what kind of advice they can offer to get started.
Thank you. This is really good advice to start or to continue working here. Is there anything else that our speakers would like to add to this? Good. There is a question to the program of supporting civil society. So how do we do that? Only through the operators that you mentioned, Natalia? I guess it's for you, or can we apply directly? Good. usually it all goes through specific calls for proposals, because for the EU, just like for any other donor, transparency of funding is important, and it's important for you to see your bid evaluated. So that will be a grant commission, including many experts who will do the evaluation. The competitions usually, or these calls for proposals, take a lot of time. Sometimes it's about 6 months with info sessions, with developing the concept and then developing the application itself. If in case of simpler bids, this could be several weeks. Some have standing calls for proposals. They just talk about their priorities, and NGOs can apply all year long, or the period that is mentioned. And then when they have all of the applications collected, they will tell you that the competition committee will meet then and then and do the evaluation. So this is how it usually happens. I don't know if that answers the question. But again, there are many different organizations. I talked about 5 providers. These are partners, strategic partners of the European Union on the development of civil society. Apart from that, you will find about 65 projects that are being implemented by Ukrainian international NGOs. Some of them have sub-brand components, and they can be given to enterprises, SMEs, journalists, artists. So these rules can be very, very different. And another thing, there is quite a cohort apart from the projects that are done within Eastern Partnership or EU for Health, EU for Health Culture. This is something that you can apply to as well. Just see what kind of calls they have. Thank you. Yeah, I think that we have the answer to this question. And there is a proposal from Ivan Kulchitsky. Some comments what communities should do. I will try to be brief, but it's a relevant topic. Have quite some experience. We've been telling that to communities for about 15 years or so, how to do project management and so on. If a community has never done anything, they cannot apply to Horizon or EU for Health. They will not be successful or in transborder cooperation or anything. Why? Because they do not have experience. What do they need to do? They need to find people who can do it. A small community usually have few employees and they have their work. And the question is, who initiates that? The head usually will do that, but who is going to do this? Economics department, communications, or there is a school or lyceum or an NGO. So you have to see who is the applicant. It doesn't have to be the community only. We heard something about partnering up with those who have experience. So if there are people who are strong, who know how to do it, you can say that you can do some project with us, you can use us. So you can say that we have something, some ideas for the young people or whatever. We are ready to do whatever you tell us to do. Please engage us and use us. You can listen to many courses. It's like learning driving from a book. Then what we also suggest, or what we also offer, it's creating profiles. If you can't do that, like sit, take a piece of paper, generate an idea. There are lots of programs that are aimed at preparing an application, and you very often when you look for partnership, you need to present yourselves. It's good to be able to write a good profile. Under our project, we can give you a template, but that can be something else. Still, this profile will help you when you register to various events, Interrex, Transborder, whatever. You register to these events. You show your profile. Maybe someone will be interested in that, yet you need to have a contact point. We can speak about more things, of course, but we do not have enough time. Yes, thank you for this addition. It's still time for us to finish. We've been talking for a bit longer, but it looks like all of these questions, comments, and recommendations are useful. Useful for our participants, maybe for the speakers as well. We're going to have more workshops, so please follow us on our social media and don't miss our announcements. We're so grateful to our speakers. We're grateful to the attendees, but we'll be equally happy to see you at our forthcoming event. Do join in. Thank you and have a quiet, good day and week as well.